Guess what? Discover's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard it right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts. You're stuck in the past. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. Learn more at discover.com/credit card.
Lemonada.
Hello and welcome to Happier, a podcast where we talk about how to make our lives happier. This week we'll talk about another reason to use it or lose it, and we share many intriguing examples of one-word themes from listeners. I'm Gretchen Rubin, a writer who studies happiness, good habits, human nature, secrets of adulthood. I'm in New York City, and joining me today from Los Angeles is my sister Elizabeth Kraft. And Elizabeth, the door is swinging open as we bounce into this new year.
That's me, Elizabeth Kraft, a TV writer and producer living in LA. And yes, Gretch, I love the use of our one-word themes for the year, door and bounce.
Yes. So before we launch in, a few updates. If you're listening on the day this lands, it is January 8th, and my new Habits for Happiness course is in full swing. I am thrilled to announce a new way to join. This is the 90-day Habit Kickstart. This is a new option that will allow you to try the course for 3 months at a discounted rate. You'll get access to the full course experience in a condensed format. You might want to consider this option if you prefer a concentrated burst of guidance and support to get you started, or you want to test the waters before committing to the full year. Enrollment for this closes in mid-January, so go to happiercast.com/habits course if you want to join today.
Such a good idea.
Yeah, more good habits for everybody in 2025.
Okay, Gretch, we also wanted to share this from Michelle. She says, I wanted to share a 5 senses idea. The daughter of a good friend had major jaw surgery that left her with her jaw wired shut. I wanted to do something for her, so I made a goodie bag. I realized as I was looking for items, I tried to get items to address her 4 senses, no taste. I included Play-Doh and soft socks for touch, popcorn and pickle-scented thinking putty, scented lotion, a kaleidoscope and coloring book for sight. Once I realized I could do this, it helped the goodie bag come together.
Well, I thought this was a great idea. If you know that some sense is knocked out for a person for a time, think about leaning into the other 4 senses. It gives you coherence and an idea for things that might be fun gifts. I thought that was a great 5 senses idea.
Yes.
And then finally, Elizabeth, we have not done an Ask Us Anything in a long time. In Happier in Hollywood, you guys didn't ask us anything. And I thought, this is so much fun. Let's do one too.
Yes. Sarah and I try to do one every season on Happier in Hollywood.
Well, I don't know why it's just so fascinating to see what questions people ask.
Yes, so send in your questions. Ask us anything about happiness, good habits, our childhood in Kansas City, New York City, Los Angeles, what it's like to own a corgi, whatever.
Yeah.
You want to know, ask us anything.
Yeah, these are always super fun, so that'll be upcoming in episode 520. Well, this week for our Try This at Home, it is the idea to use it or lose it, but in a slightly different sense than this often comes up.
Yes, so we have all heard this in the context of muscle, that you have to use your legs if you want to be able to use your legs. You have to do those bicep curls to keep the arm muscles going. And it is great advice.
Yes.
And we've also heard it for the brain.
Right. Making connections with other people, reading a lot, speaking another language, things that use the brain, help the brain stay active. This reminds me of one of my proverbs of the professions. A dentist sent me, it's like, only brush the teeth you want to keep. So it's sort of like in big things and small, if we want to use something, we have to keep using it or it can just wither away.
You and I were talking about how this also applies to just things in our life. So this came up, Gretch, when I was talking about in my 25 for 25 list that I want to go to 7 events, 2 + 5 events in person. So whether that be a podcast taping, a stand-up comic, a concert, a lecture, and you pointed out it's good that you're doing this because use it or lose it we all need to go to stuff.
Right, like going to the movie theater. If we want there to be movie theaters to go to, we have to go to movie theaters. If we want there to be independent bookstores to go to, we have to shop at independent bookstores. Because if people don't use these things, then they'll just go away. And so I think there's a lot of things where we really like the idea that they're there, and we might think, oh yeah, I like to use that thing. But if you don't actually use it, well, then we can't expect it to stick around.
Yeah, and I think it's a good motivator. I'm thinking of a farmer's market, for instance.
Yes.
If you love that there's a farmer's market in your town, go to it, right?
Yes.
So that it'll continue. And the thing is, it could actually get you to go when you
Yes.
wouldn't otherwise go, especially, I think, maybe for obligers who feel obligated. Oh, I have to go to the farmer's market so that it will be there.
Right. Well, let's say you're doing your Read 25 and 25, and so you're picking your books. It's like, go to that independent bookstore. And like you say, there's something about showing up in person. You might run into a book that was like a favorite from your childhood, and now you want to reread it, or something catches your eye. There's a different experience when we go in person and we have to use it. There's been a lot of discussion in the news lately about how drugstores are closing. Again, if you want there to be a drugstore there, you have to go to the drugstore. And I live in New York City, and a huge thing is plays and musicals. And Elizabeth, when you were just in New York City, you guys went to a Broadway show, and I thought, it's right. In 2025, I want to go see more live theater because I want it to be there. I love the idea that I live in a city where there is live theater, but many cities have live theater, but it will only continue insofar as people continue to go.
Yeah, and that is really true. We see all around us how this actually comes to fruition, right? That things do go away.
Music stores. Remember music stores?
Yes, yes.
Yep.
And I love the idea of making it force me to get out there and do stuff. Then if I say, oh, there's a podcast I'd like to see recorded. Oh, do I really feel like driving to West Hollywood? Well, I should, because I want the live podcast tours to continue. It will help me actually follow through.
Well, and another thing is when things are used, they seem more worthy of support. So say there's like a park. I was talking to our father about this in Kansas City when we were walking around. Like, there's been a lot of investment in the parks in Kansas City, and they look gorgeous, and people are using them a lot. And when people use something, then everybody's like, well, it's worth supporting this thing in our city or our town or our neighborhood or whatever, because clearly many people are enjoying it. And so then these things also stay supported. And so again, it's just use it or lose it.
Yeah, and it's just great to get out and do stuff. I mean, I think, Gretchen, I am still coming out of the pandemic. That's what I have realized recently is I'm still in some of those old pandemic habits. So I'm hoping 2025, I'm going to break out and I'm going to use everything.
So let us know if you do try this at home and how use it or lose it works for you, and what's the context in which you're doing it. We would love to know. Let us know on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook. Drop us an email at podcast@GretchenRubin.com. Or as always, you can go to the show notes, happiercast.com/516.
Coming up, we've got a happiness hack that's an easy way to make everyday life more fun. But first, this break.
Elizabeth, you and I, we love our dogs, Barnaby, Nacho, Daisy, and we want to feed them a healthy diet. That is an investment in their health, their longevity. It keeps them from having to make visits to the vet. And one thing I know about Barnaby is he loves his food. And with Maeve, I just pour the food out of the bag and serve it frozen, and he's excited to eat it.
Your dog is biologically primed to digest and absorb key nutrients from an unprocessed, low-carb, high-protein, raw meat diet. And Maeve's raw food diet is formulated to meet your dog's needs. Most dog parents see results in 28 days or less. Make the switch to raw today. Right now, Maeve is offering 20% off your first order at meetmaeve.com/happier. That's spelled MAEV. Go to meetmaeve.com/happier to receive 20% off your first order. That's meetmaev.com/happier. You know how sometimes a meal leaves you energized and other times sluggish, foggy, or even hungrier? That may be your glucose talking. Foods that are sugar and carb heavy, and you know my experience here, cause your body's glucose levels to spike, often followed by a crash. This matters because it turns out 88% of us have suboptimal metabolic health. So glucose could be the next big thing to track when it comes to health. That's why we're excited about Lingo, a new biowearable from Abbott that tracks your glucose in real time.
I've been wearing Lingo for weeks now, and I've learned that for my body, if I move around after I eat a meal, my spike is much more gradual, much lower. And so I've learned that I just need to get up and move around after I eat. What works for me might work very differently for you, but that's what works for my body. To see how your body responds to food and learn what you can do to improve your metabolism, try Lingo. It starts at $49 for a 2-week plan, no prescription needed. For a limited time, save 10% on your first order with Happier at HelloLingo.com.
The Lingo glucose system is for users 18 years and older, not on insulin. It is not intended for diagnosis of diseases, including diabetes. For more information, please visit HelloLingo.com/US. All right, Gretch, we're back with this week's happiness hack.
Okay, this comes from my own life. So one of the things that's striking about 2025 for me is that I have so many milestone anniversaries. This is just some of the milestone anniversaries that I have identified. It's the 10th anniversary of our podcast. Yay.
Yay.
It's the 30th anniversary of my clerkship year. It's the 20th anniversary of the first meeting of my children's literature reading group. It's Barnaby's 10th birthday, so that's a kind of anniversary, and the anniversary of the day that he came to live with us. It's the 20th anniversary of when I started high-intensity weight training. I actually found my first date, which was super fun. Elizabeth, you should do that too, because, we always say, give yourself these milestones, give yourself these ta-das. It's very satisfying. My first book, Power, Money, Fame, Sex, A User's Guide, came out in 2000. That's a book I don't talk about that much, but man, I loved writing that book.
I love that book.
But the most important anniversary is the milestone anniversary, the 10th anniversary of Jamie's cure, which was January 9th, 2015. It was the happiest day of my life. He had hepatitis C that he got from a blood transfusion during a heart surgery that he had when he was a little kid. He had hepatitis C. He'd had it for a long time. It was starting to really be a problem. And then science, research came up with a cure. He went on it the day it was approved by the FDA, and then he was cured in 2015. So January 9th. So here's my hack. Nobody in my family pays particular attention to this, but I have just decided January 9th, 2015 was the happiest day of my life. I'm going to mark this day. So I buy an ice cream cake for Jamie because that's his favorite thing from Baskin-Robbins. Sometimes I invite his parents to come over because they do live right around the corner from us. But at the very least, I take a picture. I send it to everybody. I say, today's January 9th. It's amazing. This friend of mine made us this amazing artwork around his last bottle of medication because I said to her, this is the most precious thing in my life. And so she made me kind of a stand with a glass bell over it with a little bluebird on it. And so I take a picture of that because I feel like I want to recognize this. And my hope is that over time, everybody will just be like, oh, yeah, that's our family holiday. But it gives me tremendous joy. We talk a lot about gratitude being an important thing for happiness. It's certainly important for a happy life. But I don't like a lot of gratitude practices.
Yeah.
Like the gratitude journal. But this is a yearly way. I'm like, I never want to take this for granted. This was truly something that was hanging over our head the whole time I knew Jamie. It was getting worse and worse, frankly. And then it just went away. And I just never want to take that for granted. I want to be thankful for it every day of my life, but certainly once a year, I want to really celebrate it. And so if there's a day for you that's special, like the day you got your corgis, you could just pick a day, make it a family holiday. It just elevates everyday life, I think.
Yes. And it also gives you a reason to look for great things happening because you're saying, oh, is this a day we want to celebrate? Like the day of getting your dog.
Right. And the research is clear that having this element of gratitude really does make us happier because it reminds us of all we have to be thankful for. So this is a different way of bringing a gratitude practice into everyday life. So I highly recommend the gratitude holiday.
Well, happy January 9th.
Thank you. I need to go to Baskin-Robbins tomorrow. And so now, Elizabeth, we wanted to share some excellent suggestions from listeners about the one-word themes they're picking for this year. I picked Dory, you picked Bounce, and we heard so many fascinating suggestions from listeners. And it's so interesting to hear why they picked what they picked.
Yes. Mary said, I have been racking my brain trying to figure out what my one-word theme will be for the year coming up. I took a piece of paper and wrote one word each morning for the past few days. The words I wrote to reflect on were colorful, renew, emerge. And then I picked dragonflies.
Love that. It's such a great way to capture
Honing in.
all those ideas in a concrete image. Danielle wrote, my word is hyphenate. I had my son last year, and since then, I've dived fully into being a stay-at-home mom, but I've also managed to keep up with the other parts of my life. I've transitioned my career as a publicist to being freelance. I've started to regain my social calendar, and me and my husband recently bought our first home. So hyphenate felt perfect because I want to excel in all of my different identities. Mother, freelancer, homeowner, woman in her 30s. I want to be all of these things and not get too focused on only one. For example, our new house has a lot of repairs to be done, but I don't want every weekend of my life to be all about my house. Love that.
Yes, very fitting for a particular time in life. I love that.
Yes.
Peter said, my word is over. I want to get projects over the line. I'm an opener and have trouble finishing. I want to get over myself and not take myself so seriously. And I want to jump over hurdles in my way.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Mary Pat wrote, mine is welcome, primarily in the sense of not resisting what floats into my life. I considered acceptance, but the mental image of welcome is vibrant and active. Acceptance feels passive and ho-hum. So this is a great example of you really want to kind of wordsmith to get exactly the right vibe. It might have the same general meaning, but by choosing a slightly different word, you might find one that has a lot more energy for you.
Yes. Liz said, on our traditional Christmas morning forest walk, I was reflecting on how, after a few days of singing and merriment, my voice was barely functioning. I'm an early childhood music educator, the happiest job in the world, but possibly the most strenuous. I've been noticing lately that I don't have the energy and resilience that I once had, and my theme popped into my head, strengthen. This applies not only to taking care of my singing voice by practicing good vocal hygiene and warming up religiously, but also strengthening my body, my relationships, my connection with nature, just being mindful of tending to the things that are important to me and not letting them slip away.
Rebecca said, my one-word theme will be groove. Primarily, it refers to getting my groove back after over a year of unemployment. I start my job in January. It also evokes music and movement, both of which I would like to be part of my year. I want to exercise more and listen to music more, and I will again be able to afford concerts. I missed a lot of those this past year. I really want 2025 to be a groovy year. Love all those meanings.
Yes. Linda said, I had the feeling that I at times lost my sense of humor in the stress and business and routine of daily life. I often took comments quite literally or negatively instead of perceiving it in the fun or playful spirit it was offered. I chose the phrase yes and as my theme for the year. I took this from comedians who do an improvisation show. Whenever one of your fellow comedians says something, you need to respond with yes and that way continue into the world or situation they've imagined and also making it possible to add something from yourself. This has been truly amazing. I quickly got used to saying, yes, that's true, and I ended up joking so much more along with that person. Maybe it should be noted that I'm a rebel and often my first inclination is to say no when someone says something. I could, however, imagine this being useful for other tendencies as well.
Love that. From the world of improv.
Yes.
Lammy says, my one-word theme is stretch. Stretching before exercising and running, stretch myself with new things. I have been wanting to learn Greek for several years now, but 2025 will be the year. Beware of overstretching and spreading myself too thin, staying flexible and stretchy, both literally and figuratively. Maybe do a stretch, i.e. time for myself, if I start to lose control and help others more than I help myself. I'm sure I can find more definitions in the weeks to come. And that's where the surrealists come in, because one of my representations will be The Persistence of Memory by Salvador Dali, one of my all-time favorite paintings, and stretchy. In fact, he has a lot of stretchy figures and symbols in many of his paintings, so I think I can find something that suits me. I love that. If you go look up the persistence of memory, you'll see what is
Yes.
meant by the stretchiness. That's a great visual representation of that idea.
It is. It reminds me of when you had the wave painting as your
Yeah, exactly.
symbol. Lori said, my word is undivided, and it actually came to me when listening to another podcast. They stated the number one way to show love to someone is to give them undivided attention. In our current society, we are very divided, having multiple things going on at the same time.
Love that. Sandy said, I came upon unlock and will be using a key as my symbol. For me, unlock signifies gaining access to new information or experiences, representing the act of acquiring knowledge while overcoming challenges or completing tasks. Interestingly, I used AI to help me understand the connection just by asking Google questions like, are learning and unlocking connected? And if so, how? In a way, I was already unlocking my understanding of AI.
Rebecca said, I was recently diagnosed with breast cancer, underwent a mastectomy, and will start chemo treatments this week. As you can imagine, this has been very overwhelming. My one-word theme for 2025 is present, as in stay in the present, don't worry about the future. This comes in handy when I feel myself spiraling down a rabbit hole of worry. I bring myself back to the present by repeating my word over and over to myself as a reminder to deal only with what is happening right now. It also helps to remind myself that every day is a gift or present and to enjoy each precious moment. I also want to be mindful about spreading kindness, etc., presence to others.
Well, best wishes for good health in 2025. That's a hard
Yes.
thing to go through, but it sounds like you've got a one-word theme that's really helping. That's wonderful. Heather writes, my one-word theme is creativity. I have really been tapping back into my creativity lately and want to make sure I continue it and make it stronger in 2025. Listening to your podcast has really inspired me to start pursuing a different career that allows me to utilize my creativity and passion for drawing. Not sure exactly where that will go yet, but I went out and bought a bracelet with a color palette on it to make sure I keep this close to my heart and hope it leads me in a direction I am excited about, especially in regards to my job. Well, that's a great word.
Yes. Tanya said, my word is stride. Oh, I like that word. It has multiple meanings for me since I want to encourage more walking and movement, but also the idea of taking things in stride and reacting to things in a calm way and not allowing anything to cause myself to go off course. My word/phrase for 2024 was finish line, and it allowed me to reach many goals, including writing a children's book. Gretch, my word one year was step, but I love stride.
Very forward moving.
Yes.
Rhonda says, in 2021, after working from home full-time since 2019, I decided to sell my home and move to somewhere warmer and closer to the coast. Before I moved, I was very disciplined with my schedule and habits and thought everything would fall into place very quickly when I moved. Boy, was I wrong. I moved during the busiest time of work and everything fell apart very quickly. I have struggled since to not only come up with a one-word theme, but to stick to anything I did come up with. This past year of procrastinating on every single aspect of my life, I have said over and over that I should just do it. As I was putting on my Nikes to run errands, I thought my one-word theme should be just do it. But since that isn't one word, I thought maybe my one-word theme should be Nike. I decided I should look up if Nike had a meaning. I was surprised to find that Nike was the Greek goddess of victory, and the Nike swoosh represents her wings and symbolizes speed, movement, power, and motivation. I was even able to find a beautiful Nike goddess pendant to wear. My one-word theme transformed from a logo into a beautiful goddess. This gives me hope that my year will transform into something beautiful. Well, I love how doing a little bit of research into the idea that captures you leads you in these really interesting, thought-provoking, energizing directions. Love that.
Yes, I love how this will also keep it up top of mind.
Yeah, because there's Nikes. You'll see that logo everywhere.
Jess said, I've chosen the word plate. This has some obvious goals attached to it, namely choosing more healthy options as well as making an effort to cook for myself more often. I also chose this word because I wanted to work on enforcing my boundaries, as in tectonic plates, and also on decreasing negative self-talk and overall viewing my life and the world as prettier, as in gold plating, or as I prefer, rose gold plating.
Okay, I think getting tectonic plates as setting boundaries from the one-word theme of plate, That is just next level in terms of
Yes.
seeing the layers of association. I love that.
Love it.
If anybody is a Philip Pullman fan, that really reminds me of the alethiometer and its level of associations. Henley wrote, I graduated from college this December and will be jumping into a new phase of life in 2025 with no school, a real job, getting engaged, moving, etc. And I needed a word to describe both my upcoming year and the goals I wish to build around it. After much deliberation, my word is bloom. I find that it captures this year as a process of becoming and symbolizes transition, growth, and flourishing while emphasizing patience, nurturing, and embracing my journey. My life will be full of instability, but bloom reminds me to grow where I am planted. I will bloom in my life physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, in my relationships with family, friends, and myself. I wish to be bold and outgoing, eat healthier, and mostly enjoy the beauty of life no matter what is going on. Plus, as a huge lover of flowers, this is the perfect excuse to have constant flowers in my home to symbolize my word. Love it.
Love it. And Gretchen, people also had so many suggestions for us regarding our words of bounce and door. So for bounce, Pam said, Elizabeth's word immediately reminded me of a Paul Simon line, we're bouncing into Graceland, made me smile all day. Love that.
Love that. Debbie said, after hearing Elizabeth's one-word theme for 2025, I wanted to share the song More Bounce in California by Soul Kid Number 1. It's not a new song, but it's a favorite of mine and seemed fun and fitting for Southern California-based Elizabeth. That was so fun. I went and listened to it.
Yes, so did I. That's got to be my theme song for the year.
Yeah.
Karen said, the first thought that came to mind for Elizabeth's word was Tigger, just food for thought.
Love
which
that.
I heard from so many people about Tigger. That was actually my first thought as well, but it didn't resonate with me. So that's why I went with kangaroo.
Yeah, but there's no one bouncier than Tigger.
Yeah.
Irene said, when I heard Elizabeth's word was bounce, I thought she should try physically bouncing on a mini trampoline or rebounder. I recently acquired one myself, and there are many health benefits. It's also a really fun form of exercise and doesn't take up much space. Check it out. Well, Elizabeth and Jack is such a huge trampoline fan.
Yes.
Like, you should tap into this.
Yes. No, I love the idea of actually bouncing myself.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, Gretchen, many people pointed out that kangaroos don't go backward. Now, what I have learned is that technically kangaroos can go backward, but for a long time people thought they couldn't. They can, but I guess they don't. So I didn't even know that was part of my symbol, the forward movement, but I absolutely love it.
Well, you're all about step into the future, and so now
Yes.
it's bounce into the future, bouncing forward like a kangaroo.
Yes.
Now, as for me, many people suggested Magritte paintings. I had no idea. This was like completely unknown to me. Renee Magritte, has many beautiful pictures of very evocative doors, kind of against the blue sky. So that was beautiful. Somebody sent me Edward Hopper's Rooms by the Sea. That's a beautiful door by the sea. Emma said, I was thinking about your door image and it reminded me of the Portara Temple of Apollo in Naxos, Greece. It is so beautiful. I looked that up. There are all these beautiful, striking images. There are so many beautiful, striking images of doors.
Yeah, and Jenna said, I was intrigued by this Lego door while rummaging through random Lego pieces with my son. Then days later, I heard your chosen word and knew I had to share it with you. This Lego door is just a building block to a larger structure. Hope this brings you inspiration as you think of an image for your word.
Yeah, and Crystal said, if you're a Tolkien fan, and by the way, Crystal, I am a Tolkien fan, you might like the image of the doorway by the Mines of Moria that says, speak, friend, and enter above it, which that's a great image of a door. Or for a warmer feel, maybe the round door to a hobbit house in the Shire. I love that. I loved all these images, but several people suggested something to me as a symbol, which had not occurred to me, which I do think I will use, which is a key. I want to find a really cool image of a key. I feel like that captures door in a way that I can...
It's poetic.
It's poetic, yeah, but I love looking at all the images. And with the wave, I had kind of a painting, so this time I wanted to switch it up a little bit, but that was cool.
And then again, on the music theme, Irene said, Gretchen, when I heard you pick Door for your theme, I wondered if you knew much about the group The Doors and Jim Morrison, who was a poet and lead vocalist. I know you enjoy reading about musicians, even though you claim not to be that interested in music. I thought you might like learning more about the band and their music as part of your one-word theme.
So, Elizabeth, this is very interesting. Well, by the way, I love the Doors, so that's a great suggestion. But I don't remember ever before with our one-word theme having a musical tie-in.
I know.
This is so interesting to me because people are suggesting songs and music for both of us, and I don't think either of us ever have had that in the past. So this is like a whole new element to think about with the one-word theme, because we've talked about, like, you want it to have layers of associations and you want it to be able to be visually encapsulated. But now it's like, well, what is the soundtrack of your theme? I think this is like a whole new level for us.
Yes, I love it. So, Gretch, now we have this whole new thing to think about with our one-word themes.
Yes.
And, of course, everybody else, we want to hear what your music is for your one-word theme. But coming up, I have a one-word theme related to merit. But first, this break.
Struggling to make healthier choices or stick with your goals? You're not alone. We all know it's tough to create lasting changes in our lives, especially when it comes to eating and exercise habits. That's where Noom comes in. Noom isn't about quick fixes or strict diets. It's a flexible, psychology-based program that helps you build healthy habits that fit into your life. With Noom, you'll learn how your mind works and why you make the choices you do. You'll have personalized lessons, a support system, and tools that track your progress, all designed to guide you on your journey. Noom uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain. But it also takes into account your unique biological factors, which also affect weight loss success. What makes Noom stand out is that it's not just about the number on the scale. Noom helps you change your mindset so these healthier habits stick long-term. Ready to feel more in control of your health? Take the first step today. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com.
This new year, why not let Audible expand your life by listening? Explore over 1 million audiobooks, podcasts, and exclusive Audible originals that'll inspire and motivate you. Just open the app and tap into your well-being with advice and insight from leading influencers, experts, and professionals. Whatever your focus or interest, there's a listen for it on Audible. You'll find titles on better health, including personal fitness, nutrition, and relaxation.
Hear ways to improve your relationships, both in your work and personal life, or how to embark on a new career strategy. If you want to overhaul your financial life or hear smart talk about investing for your future, you'll find that too. Ultimately, it's all about starting good habits. Making a positive change is the best resolution you can make for yourself, and Audible can help. There's so much opportunity and more to imagine when you listen. Let Audible help you reach the goals you set for yourself. Start listening today when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/happier.
Okay, Alyssa, it's time for Demerits and Gold Stars, and this is an even-numbered episode, and that means it's your turn to talk about a demerit. What is this one-word theme demerit?
Well, my demerit, Gretch, is I have not gotten my kangaroo symbol yet. So I have looked around. I have looked at different mugs. I have looked at little boxes that have kangaroos. I've looked at patches or whatnot, but I haven't selected one thing, and I need to do that. I don't want to let the year go by with me not having this physical manifestation. So I'm hoping that by saying this out loud to everybody, I will this week get my symbol.
Well, I don't have my key symbol yet. And the funny thing is, I feel like just loose in my apartment, I have all these sort of intriguing keys to nothing, like kind of decorative keys. But I'm like, where are they? It's the kind of thing when you're thinking, where am I going to put this thing away? It feels like you have 1,000 of them. And then when you actually are looking for it, you're like, where did I put that decorative key? So I want to find mine too. I don't want to go out and buy one because I know I have one somewhere, but we want to get those visuals down before we get too far into the year.
Gretchen, what is your gold star?
I want to give a gold star to over-the-counter medication. I have had a cold. I got a really bad cold on Christmas Day, and it has been lingering. It's one of these lingering colds. And I just think, wow, over-the-counter medication, I feel it when it's wearing off. I know in the space of like 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, whoa, I need to take my medicine. I think back on like the olden days when people didn't just have these things that we take for granted. even things like Neosporin and Band-Aids and just all this stuff that we can go and get. And with these everyday minor aches and pains, it really makes such a huge difference. And again, it's very easy to take it for granted. So again, gratitude for something that I don't want to take for granted.
Yes. Yay, medication.
And the resource for this week. So the Design Your Year trifecta, we've been talking a lot about the one-word theme. That's one element of the trifecta. If you want to learn more about the Design Your Year trifecta, so again, that's the one-word theme. Read 25 and 25, so fun. And the 25 for 25 list, it's just the beginning of January. You're never behind. You can jump in at any time. You can find tons of resources and further reading to kick off your year at happiercast.com/design your year. And now what are we reading? Elizabeth, what are you reading?
I am reading Selling Sexy, Victoria's Secret and the Unraveling of an American Icon by Lauren Sherman and Chantal Fernandez.
I am rereading for the fourth time, one of which was I listened to it and I read it 3 times. It is short. It is amazing. The English Understand Wool by Helen DeWitt. Cannot recommend it enough.
I can't wait to read that too.
Yeah, read 25 for 25. Make this one of them. And that's it for this episode of Happier. Remember to try this at home. Use it or lose it. Let us know if you tried it and if it worked for you.
Thank you to Chuck Reed and everyone at Lemonada.
Here's your rhyming reminder. If you like the show, tell others you know.
Until next week, I'm Elizabeth Kraft.
And I'm Gretchen Rubin. Thanks for joining us. Onward and upward. Elizabeth, are you looking for something like a keychain or a t-shirt? What kind of thing are you looking for?
I haven't really decided. Possibly a mug because, I love my mugs. And then I know I'll use it, but it's got to be the right mug. I only want a really nice mug that I know I'll savor.
You're a connoisseur.
I don't want to
mugs.
just get a plain old mug.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm on the hunt for.
Okay. From the Onward Project.
This message is sponsored by Cologuard. Because of my own health journey, increasing awareness around the importance of colon cancer screening is a mission close to my heart. And one common misconception about screening for colon cancer is that you should start at age 50. But in actuality, if you're at average risk, the recommended age to start screening is 45. And a great use-at-home option to screen for colon cancer is with the Cologuard test. The Cologuard test is a non-invasive, effective, and affordable prescription-based use-at-home colon cancer screening test that looks for both abnormal DNA and blood in your stool. What I really love about the Cologuard test is that it gives the option to screen your way on your time with no need to take time off of work for prep or procedures. Even if you don't have any symptoms, it is so important to test beginning at 45 because many patients with early-stage colon cancer have no symptoms at all and are diagnosed through screening. With zero downtime, no special preparation, and a use-at-home screening test that's delivered right to your door, what more are you waiting for? So if you're 45 or older and at average risk, ask your healthcare provider about screening for colon cancer with the Cologuard test. You can also request a Cologuard prescription today at Cologuard.com/podcast. Do not use the Cologuard test if you've had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease, and certain hereditary syndromes, or a personal or family history of colorectal cancer. False positive and negative results may occur. Any positive result should be followed by a colonoscopy, not a replacement for colonoscopy in high-risk patients. The Cologuard test is available by prescription only.